Hello, my name is David Moore. I have my wife as my audience, Mary. She's in the back here.
Hi.
Today I'm going to be giving an informative speech over the history and key events of the GOP, the Grand Old Party. Throughout the duration of the speech, I will discuss the origins by presenting a timeline of the GOP and relevance of the past and the present of what's going on now today. With the upcoming election, it is important to know where your values land in regards to what political affiliation that you do claim. If you are undecided, please pay close attention while keeping your thoughts on certain topics in the forefront of your mind. If you think that just jumping on the boat and agreeing with the common misconceptions of political parties doesn't affect you, it does. You could be supporting a candidate that you have little to nothing in common with, just based on misconceptions of the party. Throughout my research, I have discovered that according to Statistics Brain, published in 2016, there are 218,959,000,000 Americans eligible to vote, and 146 million of those Americans are actually registered to vote. That leaves only a 66% margin of people that are registered to vote as those who are eligible to vote. A person who doesn't exercise the right to vote will not have their voice heard, no matter how small they feel that their opinion is. Throughout the duration of the speech, I will discuss the origins by presenting a timeline of the GOP with historical and present relevance. The first step in knowing and understanding what the GOP believes is knowing where the GOP came from. If you can refer to slide 2 in your PowerPoint presentation. It began in a little schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin in 1854. A small group of dedicated abolitionists gathered to fight the expansion of slavery. They gave birth to a party known as the Grand Old Party, dedicated to freedom and equal opportunity. That comes from the Republican National Committee with no date. The Republican Party was founded primarily to oppose slavery, and Republicans eventually abolished slavery. The Democratic Party fought them and tried to maintain and expand slavery. The 13th Amendment abolishing slavery passed in 1865 with 100% Republican support, but only 23% support in Congress. Pirelli R. 2005 in the Republican handbook. The Republicans fought hard to end slavery and also supported many other bills and movements to help better our country. Women's right to vote contained in the 19th Amendment was proposed by the Republicans. Reference slide 3, please. In 1920, the women's right to vote contained the 19th Amendment, which was ratified by the Republican-held House and Senate. The amendment was shut down by previous Democrat-controlled House and Senate in 1887. The 19th Amendment guarantees all American women the right to vote. Achieving this milestone required a lengthy and difficult struggle, and victory took decades of agitation and protest. In 1956, the interstate system began construction with approval from Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower. In 1954, the Republican Party controlled the House and Senate. Although the off-year non-presidential election scheduled for November could tilt both House to Democratic control, President Eisenhower did not think that campaigning for Republican candidates was appropriate. He believed he should be seen as president of all the people. Not one party. However, when polls showed the Democratic Party gaining strength, he agreed to fight for Republican control of Congress. He traveled more than 10,000 miles and gave nearly 40 speeches in an attempt to salvage Republican control of Congress. The president's efforts were in vain. The Republican Party lost 17 seats in the House and 2 in the Senate, giving the Democrats control of both chambers. In the long term, the highway was eventually built. The interstate system is still used today. In 1957, the 101st Airborne was deployed to Little Rock, Arkansas, in order to desegregate government schools in the area. You can go to slide 5. When 9 African American students slipped into the school to enroll, a full-scale riot erupted. The situation was quickly out of control. Finally, Congressman Brooks Hayes, mayor of Little Rock, and the Little Rock mayor Woodrow Mann asked the federal government to help first in form of the U.S. Marshals. President Eisenhower, as the crew chief law enforcer of the United States, was presented with a difficult problem. He was required to uphold the Constitution and the laws, but he also wanted to avoid a bloody confrontation in Arkansas. With Executive Order 10730, the President placed the Arkansas National Guard under federal control. Paratroopers from the 101st Airborne Division to assist in the restoration of law and order in Little Rock, Arkansas. Republicans supported the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Slide 6. Lyndon Johnson consistently opposed civil rights legislation while he was in Congress, but as president worked hard to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Voting Rights Act of 1965. Neither would have passed without strong support of congressional Republicans, who provided the margin of the victory. Richard Nixon is said to have developed a Southern strategy of using racial code words like law and order to gain votes in the South, yet he did more to desegregate Southern schools than any president in history. Nixon also created affirmative action to help break the power of racist labor unions and minority set-asides for government contracts to aid black entrepreneurs. Historically speaking, the Republican Party has far better record on race than the Democrats. More recently, the GOP has been responsible for many important bills and has also stood up to abolish certain bills that have already been passed. Please turn your attention to slide 7. I'll discuss current bills that the GOP is attempting to dismantle. Republicans are taking focus on everyday American safety by trying to implement stricter vetting laws on immigrants entering our country. The GOP is also attempting to make it more difficult for jobs to leave our country, therefore strengthening our economy in the process. With all this said, I provide information to any undecided voters about the Republican Party. Throughout this speech, we have discussed the origins of the GOP and covered a brief timeline of GOP history that is still relevant today. The Republicans are responsible for the Civil Rights Act, the abolishment of slavery, the women's right to vote, and various ways to improve our economy. After hearing this speech, I ask you to inform yourself and to get out and vote. Make your own decisions and choose the candidates you feel fit best with the corresponding positions. Do not do yourself the injustice of not voicing your opinion.
Do you want to redo that?
Still recording.